Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Mindful sRNA rRNA podcast. I am super excited about the guest I have here. Y'all probably will recognize her voice and her face. She is huge on social media. Her name is Kiki. You can find her on Instagram at the CRNA Chase. I know y'all know her, work with her, love her work, and I am just so excited to pick her brain today, listen to some of her advice, and she's got some very exciting things to talk about that she's going to be launching very, very soon. So I am just so honored and so happy to have another fellow mentor or CRNA here with me today to share with us some great gems. So Kiki, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kiki, tell me, why did you decide to be a CRNA and walk us through your journey to becoming a CRNA?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I mean, that's a loaded question for
It
me
is.
because I've done so many different things. But I will say, I became a CRNA because I actually was around a lot of CRNAs as a surgical tech. And so it was right there in my face all the time. And so, what I noticed about CRNAs at the time, back when I was a surgical tech for 4 years, Um, what I really noticed is that they were advocates for their patients and that they led the room. And so I was just really intrigued by that. And it really wasn't until I think a CRNA asked me to run and get something for her, and I ran and got it for her. Whatever that thing was, I came back with it. And as a surgical tech, like, I got it. Look, I got it. Here you go. Like, and from that moment on, she really just gave me the steps that I needed to take to be a CRNA. She told me right there, once everything calmed down, she told me, I need to finish out I was in nursing school. So she basically said, like, once you finish nursing school, I want you to go straight to ICU, and then I want you to go back and get your bachelor's because I would have had an associate's. Go back and get your bachelor's, do the GRE, like she was just giving me all the steps,
Oh,
man.
great.
And from that moment on, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this thing.
I love that. So I'm curious, what got you into like being a surgical tech? Like, have you always kind of had like a love for the OR, or why did you start there?
Okay, so that's an interesting story too. I'm full of stories, honey.
Love it.
I'm
I
full of
love it.
stories.
Go.
Okay, so nursing and surgical tech, all that was not my first, career. So this is kind of like second, third, fourth career for me. I actually started out high school. I had a cosmetology license, so I could do hair and all those things. From there, I went into general engineering technology. So I have a general engineering technology degree. I used to work on machines and program robots and all this crazy stuff, but I hated it. Like, the men hated me, I hated them, and it was at a time where it wasn't a lot of women doing this, like 2000, early 2000. To be really honest with you, even with my degree, I was the only female in my class. For my degree, I was the second to ever get the degree as a woman in my program, and the first African American. So
Oh,
that's how few women that
oh,
were doing it.
oh,
Yes.
it's amazing.
So anyway, I really hated it, and so what I ended up doing was saying, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go back to school. And so what am I going to do? And so the first thing I thought of was nursing because I was helping my grandmother who was, diabetic. She had like a below the knee amputation, so I would do her dressing changes before I was even a nurse. And so I said I'm gonna do nursing. So I went and I signed up for nursing. This is when you can just go up to the campus and, okay, hello, I want to be a nurse, and then they'll tell you yes or no, whatever. And so they said, well, it's a waiting list. I said, okay, no problem. I'll come back or whatever. So as I was leaving, I ran into a lady who goes to my church. She was the program director for a surgical tech program, and I ran into her, and she said, you can come sign up for surgical tech like right now, and you can start in a few weeks. She really sold me on it right there. I had no idea what a surgical tech was. To be really honest with you, I did not know, but she made it sound really good. She said, it's a year program, you're gonna come out making pretty decent money. She said you're gonna be on day shift, and I had a 2-month old, a 2-year old, and a 4-month old. I mean, it was crazy. And I said, well, that's what I need right there. She said, you can also just work on, finishing nursing school. So when time to come, they'll work with your schedule.
Mhm.
I was like, yes, sign me up for that. So I became a surgical tech. Again, did not know what that was. But once I got into the program, I was like, I can see myself doing this for a little bit. But I did know that the end goal was for me to be a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. First of all, you're incredible and you are amazing. Like, this is, I mean, the fact that like you acquired that degree, I mean, it's
Mhm.
hard to work with a bunch of people you don't like and they don't like you, but you showed up
Yeah.
and you did it. I mean, the adversity, the persistence, the perseverance you went
Mhm.
through, like, wow, like kudos to you. Then having the kids, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Having kids and
Uh-huh.
trying to switching careers, like literally you switched careers, you switched jobs, you
Mhm.
walked right up, you did it. Like, I am
Mhm.
so inspired for you. This is like amazing. I love this. So kudos to you. With that being said, how do you think that these life experiences shaped your journey to CRNA?
And I think it's been really profound and huge because when I look back at all the things that I did, even back then, the moment in the moment is not like a big deal. It's just something you do. But now looking back at it, the fact that yeah, I switched careers and I had small kids, and even in my nursing program, I had to take some night classes. Like I was doing night nursing classes, but I would work during the day. And like I say, oftentimes I forget like I've done those things. But I have a friend that lives in Arizona, and when I talk to her on the phone, she's always like, Kiki, oh my God, like, do you remember when you did this, this, and this? And I'm like, God, like, and she was like, you're just amazing. I was like, no, I feel like aren't most people doing these things? Like, like I feel like
No.
people should be doing the things that I'm doing. So I never really think about it, but I believe it has shaped me in how I've gone about creating the Society of Future Nurse Anesthetists and, like being a 1099 independent contractor. I just feel like I can do all these things. Like I don't know where it came from. Like I feel like either I was born this way or I had to be tough in this life some kind of way and this is just who I am. But either way, I just feel like why can't I do it? That's just kind
Love
of like
that.
my motto. Like, why can't I be the one to do this thing?
Oh my God. Do y'all hear that? Write that down. Why can't I be the
I
one to do
do.
this? Why can't I be the one to do CRNA? Why can't I be the one to be in the ICU? Why can't I have kids and get married and get through CRNA school, right? Like, I love that. And that is
Mhm.
like, I can totally see like the thread of your life and why you're so good at what you're doing with mentoring and uplifting people
Yeah.
and encouraging because, yeah, I feel like there are, some people that we can say that we're just born to get stuff done. I think I was always born to just be,
Yeah.
I don't know, like even my husband's like, let's just take it down one
Sit down.
notch, just maybe a notch. Like me, like what do you mean? You can't do 30 things at one time? He's like, you can, but you know what I mean? So I do think there's definitely like a personality thing in there too. But don't forget about the power of belief and the power of I can do it. Like I can just get through it and I can do this. And why can't I? Why can't I do it? Right. I feel
Exactly.
like sometimes the biggest limitations come within ourselves. And so I want you guys to just notice, are you limiting yourself or are you allowing other people to limit you as well? And kind of taking a look at that. I want to pause just for a second because I know because you had the young kids, and you were changing careers, you were going to school. What advice can you share for our sRNA mama and dadas who are
Mhm.
in the crunch of CRNA school and trying to balance studying,
Mhm.
their partners, their kids? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, man, I got a lot of advice probably. I should have a lot. So I know for me, I want to first say like I understand like what you're going through, and I don't take it lightly. It's real easy for us to, as mentors, say, "Oh, but you can do it." Oh, I did it. Or other people are doing it. Like, why can't you, as a parent, drop your kids off at daycare and go on to CRNA school? Like, sometimes I find myself wanting to say that or saying that because I've done it. And I'm like, what's so hard about it sometimes? Or just sign up. But everybody doesn't have that in them. And some people don't have the resources. Some people don't have the time. It's a lot of variables in that. But this is what I would say. Um, when I decided to go to CRNA school, I moved out of state. And so my kids were 13, 15, and 17. I felt so bad as a parent, like depressed down, like I'm the worst mother in the world to move my son at 17, almost 18, the day after he graduated high school. We moved. And right. And so I felt so bad. But this is the thing that I want your people to get, right? And I can tell you this story. So when we moved to Maine, we had to stay in a hotel for a couple of days. Our apartment wasn't ready. My husband still was in South Carolina. It was just me and the kids. I still had to go to class, right? And so this is when I started feeling like, okay, this is me being real selfish. Why did I think I can do this? Like I can't believe I did this to these kids, right? And my kids wasn't even saying anything to me. Like they wasn't mad or anything, but in my mind I felt like the worst parent. Anyway, once our apartment became ready, I the apartment's ready. My husband still isn't there with all belongings in the U-Haul. Like it was just nothing was going right. And so I took it upon myself. We can't stay in this hotel because we have no money to stay here, right? We got to go to the apartment. So I went to Walmart and I bought 4 air mattresses, 4 spoons, 4 forks, 4 of everything.
Oh.
And me and my kids slept in the front room together for about 8 days until my husband got there, right? And this is when I really was down because I would have to go to
Mm.
school and I bought them a TV. They were watching, they had 2 channels. My son started watching General Hospital. And like when my son went to college at Liberty University a couple of months later, and we drove him there, and I just started crying. I just started telling him like, I feel so bad. I'm the worst parent. I'm about to tear up now talking about it.
Oh.
But I was like, I'm the worst parent in the world. It's like, what are you talking about, Mom? Like, that was amazing. We had so much fun and sleeping in the front room. And I was like, what? He was like, no, Mom, like you're like really an inspiration to us. And I was like, for real? And I was like, so I want your people to get that. Like your kids are going to see you doing all these amazing things. And I'm telling you, it's going to do something to your kids and in a positive way. So my 3 kids right now are amazing kids. Now, I don't know if they're gonna stay amazing, but so far they good. I've done my part,
They
right?
will. They
So
will.
yeah, I've done my part. They 20, 22, 24, and 27, right? Amazing kids. My kids right now feel like they can do anything. They will go and do the thing. You'd be like, wait a minute, don't hold on. Have you thought this through? No, like, Mom, we seen you do such and such. Like we planned it out, we worked it out. And I'm telling you, your kids will see that. So you're just really, to me, you're setting an example. I will say another thing too. A lot of nurses that I work with, they'll say, I feel like I need to be there for my kids in the early part of their years, or I feel like I need to be there in the later part of their years. Okay, so this is my thing. Yes, you definitely need to be there for your kids. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but don't you drop your kids off to go to work and do a 12-hour shift? What's the difference in you going to school for 8 hours, coming home studying for 4 hours, right? So you just got to think about it like that. I think a lot of it, honestly, is yeah, it's going to be hard, but a lot of it is fear based. It's fear. It's like giving you every excuse in the book, like to get out of whatever you know you should be doing. You know that you should be a CRNA. So that's what I would say is like you never know. Like, you feel like the worst parent, but your kids, I'm telling you, they're going to be different for it.
Yes. Yes. See, guys, it's not just me saying it. I love this.
Yeah.
I think I did 2 podcast episodes with moms as well. I'm hoping to get a dad on as
Hmm.
well to give their perspective.
Yeah.
But exactly that. And even just like, I love that your kids were like, Mom, that was amazing. Like, and it's all perspective, right? Like we're seeing from, I'm going to ruin my kids. I'm scared. I'm like you said, we live from this. We live and breathe from fear
Yeah.
versus living and breathing from belief and what is possible and really perspective shifting and seeing what you thought was damaging your kids did the
Yeah.
complete opposite. Like they were like,
Opposite.
this is cool. Like this is
Hmm.
cool. You're not damaging your kids, guys, for showing them,
Hmm.
literally showing them and walking out your dreams and overcoming your fears and
Hmm.
overcoming your failures. It is the best thing that we can do for our kids is to show them, not just tell them. So
Yeah,
yes.
I agree. I agree. I'm gonna say one other thing too. I
Mhm.
agree with that completely. And it's also going to be good for your family. Like you're creating a better life for your family. Like, and I know everything isn't like money based. I'm not even talking about the amount of money you can make. I'm just talking about the freedom to live and work the way that you desire.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm really talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so true. And that's what me, I mean, we'll get there in a little bit, but that's what
Mhm,
me and Kiki had our first conversation. We were talking about work and locums and 1099 and our schedules in life. And that's really, yeah, I mean, I love that I create my own schedule and I pick and
mhm,
choose when I want to work, what I want to do with my kid. You know what I mean? Like that in and of itself is worth everything to me. That
exactly.
freedom, exactly what you said.
Yes.
So I love that. So getting back to talking about, you had met that CRNA, she was giving you all the steps. Do this,
Mhm.
do this, do this, do this. I'm assuming not everything went super easy for you, but walk me through like how you went from, okay, I'm nursing, I got to get my ICU experience, I got to do all the things. Take us
Mhm.
through kind of your journey and what that looked like for you getting that acceptance letter.
Yeah, my journey was crazy. It was all over the place. I wish I could say that it was easy. And I believe it would have been easier, but life happens and um yeah, it just didn't go quite as planned. One of the things was I actually started out on the right track. I went straight to ICU. She told me to go to ICU. I did. I went straight to ICU. And it was so funny. I remember on a Friday I was a surgical tech and I had already took my nursing boards, and this was when you had to wait like 4 days to get the results, and you had to call and get. You actually had to call a number and pay with your credit card or a debit card. I didn't even have a credit card or a debit card. All I had was cash, right? And I didn't have no money. I was so broke. But I remember being at work, and one of the nurses I worked with, a lot of the nurses and staff was like, "Kiki, did you pass? Did you pass?" And I'm like, "No, like got cash. I can't check my results." And I just don't know. So anyway, one of the nurses was like, "Kiki, I'm gonna pay for it for you." I was like, I give you the money. Like I got the money. She's like, "No, I'll do it myself." So we went in a trauma room, empty trauma room, and she called it and put her card in. I said, "Well, I can't even listen to the results. Like my nerves is shot." So I just sat in the corner and prayed to God. And she gave me this sad look, like you didn't pass, and I just wanted to cry. And then she said, "I just kidding, you passed." And I was like, and so that was on a Friday, and they knew I was leaving. Right? They knew at some point I was leaving, so I didn't have to put in a notice. And so that Monday, I was in ICU. It was like literally a weekend off, and then I went to ICU. So I did that part right. But when I got to that ICU unit that I was in, I tell you, I hated that unit. And I really, I don't know. I'm praying that it's a little different now, but it was really about the nurses eating their young. It felt like that, right? I understood that concept when I got there. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. So I really was thinking maybe nursing not for me. Like I messed up, right? But I knew I couldn't quit, right? I mean, I put my family through all this. So what ended up happening was I hated the unit, so I tried to do everything I could to get out of the unit. And I could not get anybody. I put in multiple applications at the hospital that I worked at, but I could never get out, right? I felt like whenever they would call to like get a reference about me or find out about me, I feel like they would say something negative because I put in so many applications. There's no way I didn't get any offers at that hospital. So what I did was I contacted another surgical tech I used to work with at another hospital, other side of town. It was for a PACU position. So I got the job right away. Like I ain't even really interview. I just called her up and said, "Hey, I need a job. I can't work here anymore. I can't do it." And so I said, is our old OR nurse, OR manager working at the hospital you're at? I heard she's there." She's like, "Yeah, I see her every day." I said, "Tell her I need a job." She told her I need a job. They called me. I went in. They asked me if I want something to eat. And in the interview, I was like, "Yeah, I already got this job." Like, asked me if I want something to eat. I was like, "No, thank you. That's kind of weird." And so, so anyway, I got the job. So that really messed things up for me because then I went to PACU, and you already know most schools are not going to take PACU, even though it was ICU overflow. I had patients on ventilators and stuff, and hanging out, waiting on the bed. So that messed up things for me. So I love PACU so much. I stayed 8 years.
Wow.
So I ended up having to like leave PACU, go back to the unit, and then start putting in my applications. And so I had a big gap in there, but I also had to get my bachelor's degree. I also had to, take the GRE. I had to get my CCRN. I mean, it was multiple levels to this thing, right? And so It took me from my first thought of, okay, I'm gonna be a CRNA. Let me do all the things. It took me from probably 2000, uh no, yeah, 2010. I didn't 2007 or 8 to 2014. So I had about 6, 7 years in there where it was just like just trying to figure it out. And then I interviewed at two places, and I got rejected. I hate to use that word, rejected, but no, they said no. And then I quit for 3 years. I said, forget
Hmm.
it.
Wow.
I'm not doing it. It's too hard. It's too I was so hurt by being rejected, and I cried for days. I said I can't do this every time. So I quit for 3 years. And then it wasn't until I was talking to a coworker in PACU, and she said, Kiki, are you still gonna try to go to CRNA school? I said, no, like I think I should be an informatics nurse. I
Field.
love
Good
computers.
field. Yeah, good field though.
I said, I love computers.
Great
I'm gonna be
field.
an informatics nurse. And she's like, what? She's like, no, like you're the only person I know that talks about being a CRNA. They in and out all day long. Like, it's no way you can be an informatics nurse. It's nothing wrong with that, but I don't see you not doing that. And so anyway, once she said that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try one more time. And when I tried one more time, I really created a solid plan. Like I have a plan, and I put it into action, and I got accepted the next time. And then I got my acceptance letter in 2015. I was on a waiting list for probably like 4 or 5 months.
Wow. And he came
I
off.
had to create a Yeah, and I had to create another plan to get off the waiting list. That's why I be trying to tell these nurses, like, don't be doing haphazard things, right? Like, really think this stuff through and be very intentional with your steps. And what worked for you to get an interview may not work for you to get off the the actual wait list.
Hmm. Yeah,
So yeah,
that's
so
good.
that's my story.
That's good. So a couple things I want to touch on is
Mhm.
I know as I've got some people in my DMs right now that are literally just like, I am in the most toxic ICU
I know.
jobs, and it's hard because it's finding that balance of like, do
Hmm.
you stay? Do you squeeze the value out? Do you figure it out? Because I do feel like that there is a lot of growth and good that can come from some of those environments because you will unfortunately maybe kind of experience that in CRNA school at clinical sites or
That's
with
true.
other people and even,
Yeah,
a job. I mean, it's guys, we're in a messy world. It is what it is, right? There's
that's
there's
true.
toxicity, there's that. So and I just want to let y'all know it's also like, yes, at some point, can I stay here? Can I do this? What
Yeah,
can I take from this in this season? And sometimes you do have to move on, like she did. Like
yeah.
sometimes it's just time to move on. And
Hmm.
even though she went to PACU, she loved it. Like, and I kind of like with you, like I flowed with my nursing journey. I knew I
Hmm.
wanted to do trauma at one point. I knew I wanted to have a higher level education. I didn't know what that looked like or
Hmm.
what that meant, but I just was in my nursing journey for the ride and this is where it took
Yeah,
me and I'm grateful for it, but I also feel you were just kind of in it for where
yeah.
it took you too. And I think my PACU
Hmm.
experience is incredibly helpful and great experience.
Hmm.
I love my PACU nurses. Shout out to them.
Hmm.
Um, but I just want y'all to know that like it's okay if it's not got a 4.0, graduated nursing school, got in the ICU, applied, I mean, that is some people's stories and that is incredible, but that doesn't have to be yours. And it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you if that's
Hmm.
not your story. So I just love that you, and again, like I say all the time, everything you do counts. It all counts. It's all
That's
shaping
true.
you, growing you, and everything's a season. What can we take from this season
Hmm.
so that we can, keep up leveling and growing into our next season? That's really what this is about. So I love your route there. Let's talk about the nose. What did you learn from the nose?
Shoot, in the beginning, I didn't feel like I learned anything. I was so down. I was just like, Lord, I can't keep doing this. That's why I quit for 3 years. But what I will say now for those who've been rejected, and like I said, I don't use that word rejected, but you'll see that word a lot. I was rejected. So what I would say now is a lot of the times we feel like we supposed to get that thing on the first try. Whatever we do, we supposed to get it right away, right? And it doesn't even make sense that we think that for CRNA school by it being so competitive, right? Like like and I try to tell people like when I was in school, like I was on the admissions committee, and I would see all the applications come in. I mean, it could be hundreds of applications for 20 spots, right? So of course, not everybody gonna get accepted on the first try, and it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. Like you could be like you could have like a 4.0 and some, but everybody else could have a 4.0 also. Like, so you think about it like that. So what I would say is I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, right? And it'll happen in due time. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. Like I'm a firm believer in that. And so I know for me, I think back to what if I had a got accepted and like I wasn't ready or something else happened, you know what I'm saying? And so I would say instead of thinking, um, or instead of thinking, okay, I did not get accepted, and I heard this no or rejection, think about it as no just means not right now. Right. And no, that's all I always say. So no, that's fine. It's just not right now. But what I do know is the only people who do not ever get accepted is the ones who quit. You already know if you quit, you're never going to get accepted, right? And so I will say also, majority of people who do get into CRNA school are those who don't give up. Like they just keep going. Like they at every turn they talking to somebody, they trying to get an insider tip, or they go to retake a class, or they trying to boost their GRE score, or they're getting another certification. Like they just do not stop, and they don't take no as an answer. That's really the difference.
Yeah. And you also brought up a good point too, and I really try to preach this as I'm huge on mental and emotional health and really what emotional intelligence and literacy is. Like,
Mhm.
what actually is it? How do we walk it out? And a big part of that is honoring how you feel. And even though,
Yeah.
yes, you were so devastated and so upset that you literally quit and said, forget it.
I know.
But I just want y'all to notice it's like honor those feelings. No one is telling you to, oh, get over it, it's fine, not, you know what I mean? But like honor how you feel because it is very valid however you feel, and it hurts and it's a bummer and it sucks. I say this all the time,
Yeah.
it sucks to keep showing up in a story that looks different than
Mm.
what you thought it would be. That is hard. So I just want y'all
Mhm.
to honor that and notice that of course you're going to feel like that, but again, it doesn't mean that you're not cut out for it. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It just means not right now. Maybe there are some things that you need to prep for in order to kind of get there. So I like that you said that. Do you have any regrets for quitting for 3 years and not
Let's
pursuing
see.
it?
Any regrets? I mean, I definitely wish I had a got into school sooner. Um, but I mean, like I say, I feel like everything happens when it's supposed to happen. But I do think about the fact that it took me, even when I think about, which I'm not trying to say everything's about money, but if you think about money wise, it took me an extra 5, 6 years to get in. That's like $1 million. So that was one thing. It's like, man, that was like $1 million. So I'm always telling people, especially if you make 200,000 a year. So I'm always telling people like, they's like, oh, I'm just gonna wait for 3 or 4 more years before I put in my application. So now you're wasting time, money, and energy, that you could have been putting into class. Like, right, you could have already been through with school and done. Right.
Yeah.
So I do wish that I had have done it sooner, but at the same time, like I don't know what would have happened. I do know like by the time I got into school, I was 38 years old. So yeah, age wise, maybe for some people, they would have been like, nah, I can't go to school at 38, 39. But at the same time, that's another big thing that in my Facebook group, a lot of nurses are like, am I too old? I saw that yesterday. And what's too old? And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, y'all killing me with
Yes.
this.
Me too. I'm like, stop it.
Yes.
Yeah.
They talk about age so much, and some of them be like 30. Like, really? Like you do realize like the majority of nurses trying to get into CRNA school is already going to be 30 years old, right? Because you already done a lot of times it's a second career too. Like it's not even
Yes.
their first real career, I would say.
Yeah.
So you think about all the things you got to do in order to even qualify and have a decent application. Probably gonna be about 30 unless you really heard about being a CRNA when you was in high school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all your steps was real calculated, right? And
Yeah.
intentional, which that's really awesome for somebody to do that.
No, it's
But for
great.
like me, I know nothing about CRNAs until I was actually a surgical tech and working in it. And even right now, if you if you talk to some people, they be like, I don't even know what a CRNA is. Just like when we take care of patients, they're like,
Who are
where's
you?
my anesthesiologist? I'll be like, nah, that's me.
You get me today, baby.
Yeah, you got me. So yeah, so I would say that by the time you get all the qualifications and everything done and prereqs, you're gonna be in your 30s. I feel like.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean,
I
I
think
don't.
so too. Yeah, because I mean,
It
there's are
is.
some that, yeah, their steps were kind of ordered, numbered from high school and beyond. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
people. Yeah, I think I started in. I graduated at 30, but I also like,
Yeah,
I
but you
went
were
right for my
intentional.
bachelor's. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went right for my bachelor's, age of 18 to 22, graduated as a nurse, kind of work, work, work. You know what I mean? So, and when I wanted to do it, I just kind of went for it. But I think I graduated at like 30 or 31 or something like that. Maybe
Mhm.
I was like 31 or something.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
in my class, the average age I feel like was like 32 to 37. Um, and a lot of us, it was our second careers, our third.
Yeah.
And the oldest in my class was 52. I had a
Yeah.
52-year-old in my class, and
Go
I was
ahead.
not even the oldest. I had 4 or 5 older than me, right? And so I always tell them, you need to pull out a sheet of paper and calculate and add up some things and see if it's makes sense for you to go back go back and finish at 50 years old. Like, cause some of it ain't gonna add up. Like if you coming out with a bunch of loans and you don't plan on working but 5 years before you retire or something, something like that. You got to really look at it and write down some numbers. And so it's really going to depend on what's best for you. It's not, I can't give you like a blanket answer. If you ask me, I'm always going to say you're never too old, right? But I also don't know your situation. So I just think you need to, make that decision off, what's best for you.
Yeah. Yeah, even like one of my, oh my God, my bestest friends now, we were besties in
Mhm.
the program. She was 41. She was like 41 when she started. And I think, finished, she was 43, I believe, or something like that when she finished.
Mhm.
And literally, she was the top student in the class. She won all the top
Yeah.
awards, got the best grades. And
Cause yeah, she been through some things in
yeah,
life
she been
and
through
she
some
was,
things. It was a second
yeah, and she
career.
knew why she was there.
Mhm.
I ain't got time to play around with y'all.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not going out to eat with you.
Yeah. Yeah, she
I
just
got
got
things to
it
do.
she just got it done, and her dad even
Mhm.
I mean, she had some tragedies happen to her during
Mhm.
school, but she got it
Yeah.
done. I mean, we cried and cried and cried, but we got it done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I totally agree with you on that one for sure.
Mhm.
What is your advice for people getting off the wait list? Because I know people think the
Mm.
wait list is like a death sentence, and I'm like,
Man.
"It's not."
It's not. Like I said, I was on the waiting list for 4 months, I believe, October to February, and my program started in May. So I actually wrote an article about it, which is on my blog, the CRNA Chase.
We'll link to it,
So
don't worry. We'll link to it.
yeah, yeah, I will say, a lot of people have read that article and actually done what I said do, and they don't get off the waiting list. And so the biggest thing I would say is, you have to let these schools know how serious you are, right? You can't just be sitting out on the waiting list and just sitting there waiting on them to contact you. So I can just tell you what I did, right? And so somebody might can use some of what I did. So when I was on the waiting list, come October, the first thing I did was reach back out to the program director and by email. It was just an email. It was just like, "Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited that I'm on the waiting list." Blah blah blah. And then I also said like, "Is there anything I should be working on to get off the waiting list this year?" Not next year, this year. Anything I need to be working on. Yeah, right now. And so then it's kind of in their court now, whether or not they reply back. If they don't reply back, that's fine. I'm gonna send them another email, and I'm gonna be like, so I just want to follow up again, and try to see what else I need to be working on. A lot of these program directors, they will tell you what you need to work on, right? If you need to work on something. Now they may not get back to you quickly, right? Like they are busy. They are dealing with sometimes two cohorts, sometimes three. So it's a lot going on in clinicals, and so I think we forget about the fact that they kind of busy too, right? Um, so yeah, I would reach back out to them. So then what I started doing, I would email one week, and then maybe a couple weeks later, I'm going to call. So I started calling the school. Right. So then I'm like, can I speak to the program director? And I could never get through. The secretary would always be like, nah, she busy or something. You can leave a message. I'll send you through. No problem. I left a message. Still just checking on my application, trying to see, where I'm at in the process, da 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 da. So I did that. The other thing I did, and I don't even know where I got this idea from, but I did it. So I put together a portfolio of everything I did since I started healthcare. And when I tell you this portfolio is like thick,
Yeah.
and it took me weeks to put it together, probably. I'll say at least 2 weeks because I was very like, oh my God, it was a lot. So I had to, and honestly, some of it was duplicate of like prior information I had already sent them for my application. But this went all the way back to me, honey, like surgical tech. And so I had to go back to the hospital and get documentation of all my continuing education courses and classes, and I put it all in there. Copies of all my degrees. I got 5 degrees, or I had four at the time. I put them all in there, right? I mailed it to the school, to the program director, right? And with a nice note. I mean, just because I was desperate, I was just like, I got to get off this waiting list. Like this is crazy. So I sent it to her, right? Now, only thing I didn't do like a priority mail. Like I don't even know if it got there. Like all I did was send it. I was so happy to send it, and I was like, what the, like that was kind of stupid. Like, how do I know it got there?
Mm,
So anyway,
love it.
I did that. Um,
Mm.
and so I'll kind of waited, like, oh shoot, they still ain't contacting me. So the last thing I did, one of the last things I did, I said, let me call one more time. I called up there again. I was like, can I speak to the program director? And so he said, yeah, she's in. I said, oh Lord. Like, so I got on the phone. I was just like telling her, like, hey, it's Kiki Mattress. She's like, yeah, I know. Like, I've been getting your messages and your emails. And I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to see where I'm at in the waiting list. Like, I'm really hoping that I'm close, and I'm so excited and da da da. So she told me, she said, Kiki, did you know you're the only one that checks on your application? Out of all the people on the wait list, you're the only one call up here. You're the only one email. You sent a portfolio. And I was like, yes, ma'am. She said, you really want this, don't you? And I said, yes. And so we got off the phone. She didn't say accept it, but she got off the phone. And the next day they called me and said I was accepted.
Yeah.
So
Girl.
my advice is
Mm.
to stick with it, to let them know how serious you are. I may not say like call and email as much as I did. I don't know. That might be annoying, but um, definitely reach out to them a few times and do the things. And this is the other thing. A lot of times we already know why we on the waiting list. Feel like we know what we need to be working on. Why not just be working on that thing? So let's say that you got, I don't know, you got a C in a science, right, or something. No, that might be the problem, right? You got the C. How about retake it while you're on the waiting list? When you get done and you get an A, get your transcript and send it to them. Like, it's just little things like that. Every time you do something. So let's say you're on the waiting list and you join a committee or you get a certification, right? Send a copy to the program director. Every time you do something, just send. That's my advice. You just gotta stick with it and contact them and let them know how serious you are.
I love that. Magic. I love that. I like that you were respectfully persistent and showing
Yeah.
interest. And again, guys, read the room too, because I know some of you kind of are like, I kind of got a snappy response back or this and that. And okay. But again, what is in your control? What can you take
Yeah.
control of? What can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if they were a little snappy, again, that's an emotional intelligence piece.
Mm-hmm.
They do have a lot going on. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they're getting bombarded. Maybe, who knows? Maybe their kid puked all night. Who knows, right? Like, there'd be a
That's
million
true.
things. But again, what is in your control, and then maybe wait like a month or two to contact again. But don't let someone else's response or a wait list keep you from doing what
Mm-hmm.
you know you need to do. Like it's not a reason to not move forward. It's a reason to move forward and to keep going. So love that.
Yeah, I
Love
agree with that.
that. Love that. And again, the other thing you said too is I preach this all the time, evaluation. You should constantly
Mhm.
be evaluating yourself. That's what leaders do, right? Is okay, what could
Mhm.
possibly be better? What could I work on right now? Right? Even if you don't get an answer back from them, I love that or seek
Mhm.
somebody out or, ask for advice from a mentor, something like that. But like evaluate yourself, right? And that's huge.
Yep.
And then I want to actually cross over now is talking about how did you get started with mentoring? Like how did you kind of start your company?
Mhm.
Talk to me about that. Why do you care to mentor the future nurse anesthetist?
Why do I care? That's a good question. So I had a really rough time in school, right? And so I say rough because I had some things happen in my program where, I had to take a leave of absence. Also didn't have like the best experience there at all. I love to say that my best day was my last day. that's that's to be honest with you, my best day was my last day. But I will say that overall, I mean, I'm still glad that I did it. Don't get me wrong, I still would do it again, but it was really hard for me. And so what I ended up doing was once I got done with school, I really was just thinking I want to start a blog. This was more, back in 2018. I was like 2018, 2019. I was like, I want to start a blog. There's a lot of blogs out there. It seems fun. So I started a blog called the CRNA Chase. And what I was really going to do was start venting, about all the things that happened. I was just going to go crazy, boy, and tell all kind of
Outlet.
stuff.
Yeah, nice little
I
outlet there.
really was.
Mm-hmm.
Let's drop some stuff. But then I was like, I got some messages back that some nurses was listening to me and they wanted advice. And I was like, "Oh shoot, like these people are listening to me. Like I gotta straighten up and tighten up and I can't say some of these things." So I ended up turning it into more of, inspiration, motivation, guidance. And so now the CRNA Chase blog is still up. I still post on it. It has about 100 articles that I've written, and so I'm really proud of it. So what got me into mentoring honestly was that blog and me thinking I'm gonna be crazy and put all kind of stuff on there, and the good Lord said no, we're gonna turn it into good and we're gonna make you a mentor. And I never really thought about being a mentor, and so
Oh, I've been coaching some people who have been
mhm,
dismissed or facing
yeah,
possible dismissals and stuff like that.
hmm,
And even I know y'all listening right now are like, oh my God, my program, I'm struggling. I don't think no one likes me. This is so hard. I feel like everybody's
yeah,
against me. And just like
I hope so,
anything can turn around at any point. Like it
yeah,
really can. And staying in our integrity, owning what is ours to own,
hmm,
being accountable, even if it does not feel good is
hmm,
literally, in my opinion, what makes an incredible CRNA. Like those are like
that's true,
the things that I think you need in the OR. And
hmm,
a lot of times those are built in the OR, but they're also built outside of the OR. I love when you were like, well, what God meant for evil turned it in for good. You were going to just vent and just let it all hang
oh yeah,
out, but instead it was turned to uplift and encourage. And I think that's like amazing. So
hmm.
tell me what you have going on now. Like, what are you currently promoting? What are you currently working on? Tell me all the good deets, how people can like work with you and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So last year, early last year, I decided to start a nonprofit, and it's called the Society of Future Nurse Anesthetists. And it's basically the inspiration came honestly from the blog and also from the Facebook group, which we have about 7,000 critical care nurses. Now we're starting to accept student nurses. And that group is called Your Future CRNA Community. And so I said, I think I need to do a nonprofit. I really got the ideal from my accountant because he was saying like, Kiki, if this is your mission and if this is your purpose, then that's a nonprofit. And I'm like, okay. And he said, I really believe you should do that because it'll make you honestly um, more easily able to partner with other programs, nurse anesthesia programs, nursing programs, just colleges in general, businesses. And I was like, yeah, it really makes sense. And he was saying that again, it's your mission and your purpose. So that was a big thing. And so I formed it. And so currently right now, you can find me over there on futurecrnasociety.org. Also, again, in the Facebook group, Your Future CRNA Community. What I'm working on is still I try to make it as simple as possible because I can go down this hole and be working on like 1,000 things at once. I'm that type person. Kind of like you, how you described it earlier with your husband saying like, what are we doing now? So
Whoa.
my husband is the same way. He's like, this is crazy. Like, you're still working on that? Yeah, it's like it's midnight. Yeah, I got to get it done. I got to get it done. Um, but so what I'm working on right now is again the Facebook group, for sure. That is currently accepting members of probably upwards of 20 members a day sometimes. It's just a lot. And I will
Yeah.
say it's very much it's very intentional group because you got to be a nurse, critical care nurse, student nurse, or you can't come in a group. Like it's that simple. You also have to provide your email address, and that's important so we can get information and resources to you. And so if you can't provide, those things, then you're going to be declined is what I'm trying to say. So it's a very intentional group, and it doesn't have any faculty or anything, because some faculty try to come in there and I'm like, that's like, to me, that's like going to be a big conflict, right? And so I want to protect the people that's in the group and by not having faculty. So we have no faculty in there. But I do encourage CRNAs who want to help and be a mentor, like to come on the platform Future CRNA Society. Like I definitely need help. Um, so back to the Society of Future Nurse Anesthetists. What we're working on is there are multiple ways to get mentorship. So of course, if you're in a Facebook group, you're just going to get mentorship, honestly, just from the people in the group. It's not even mentorship. It's just more about support and like-minded people. But then if you need more, you can become a member of the Society of Future Nurse Anesthetists. We have where you can come in at the student nurse level, nursing, CRNA. We looking for any little support we can to keep the mission going. So when you come in for the mentorship over there, you have more of a advanced learning center platform that has a ton of courses and resources, templates. You need help with your CV, you need help with your personal statement. All that is in there and has been recorded for you to access. So like if you don't have time, you can just work on it as you go. But let's say that you need more advanced help or more support and guidance. We also have a 7 week. It's called 7 weeks application creation. And so we just gonna create your CV, your personal statement, and do your interview preparation. And we're gonna get it done in 7 weeks so you can get it out. So now you ain't got no excuse, right? Because you
Yeah.
know that accountability piece. So it's really about the accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a 7 week period. And so the plan is to launch that a couple of times per year. And then if you needed more, let's say you needed 6 months more of one on one help, you can also get that and add that to the mentorship program as well. And so that's another thing we're working on. So this is getting ready to launch. This is getting ready to launch the last week in March.
Awesome.
So I'm
Perfect.
excited about it because I actually did a mentorship program last year. It was the pilot program. So this is just making it better. Like I got the feedback from those who participated. And then now we're going in making it better. The next phase will be at some point. I'm hoping at the end of this year or next year is to have like a CRNA, not shadowing, but more of a CRNA mentor network where maybe we can pair CRNA to um, three candidates for, nurse anesthesia school, right? But then I also know I have some SRNAs coming to me and they're saying they need help. So that's when I'm like, you need to go talk to Amanda because I don't have that set up yet. So I have to send them to you for that because honestly, that was the initial ideal was okay, help them get into school, help them stay in the school, help them find a job. Like it was going to be that, but it can be a lot to go down all three of those paths.
Mhm. Yeah. And I initially started and I was so passionate about people in school because I was like, I
Mhm,
I was like, this sucks. Like this really sucks in school. Like I was not expecting it. So that was kind of why I started it. And then
mhm.
I kind of went with the need as everybody was kind of asking for a lot of help with getting in. So I would say it took me a solid 5 years, I think, to
Yeah.
really build, from helping them get in to now I have my kind of elite premier coaching program while they're in school. And
Mhm,
then they want some coaching
mhm.
when they get out. You know what I mean? And I'm happy to do that. But it
That's
definitely took
good.
time.
Mhm.
And I'm constantly tweaking and building and what do you guys need and how can I
I know.
streamline and how can I make that easier? So, and with that
Mhm,
being said, like obviously you work, full time, you're doing
mhm.
mentoring. How do you fit this in with like your life? Like, how do you make time for this?
I really don't make time for it, I just do it. I don't I'm not good with making time. I'm actually working on trying to do better because I do realize I've been going full force for um 20 something years. Like I really haven't let up and my body feels it. I've had two cervical spine surgeries.
Oh,
I got arthritis now. Like it's early onset arthritis. It's like a lot of things. I've had meningitis in CRNA school.
oh,
Like I think about all the things that just ailments from I feel like just being run down, your body being run down. So I'm actually trying to be more intentional with my time. So what I'm working on right now is it's kind of I was thinking about this earlier because I was like, I gotta do better because I got like four businesses, and then like this isn't the only thing I do, but it's definitely a big part of what I do. But I'm like I'm trying to carve out time in the sense of like Monday and Tuesday I'm working on the Society of Future Nurse Anesthetists. Wednesday, Thursday I'm gonna work on I have a event space and learning space. And so I'm like, okay, so then I'm gonna work on the Center of Advancement and Learning, and then I also got my nurse anesthetist 1099 business. I provide anesthesia services. Now, true, I don't have to do a whole lot as far as planning and other than looking at my calendar, deciding when I'm gonna work and who I'm gonna work for,
yes,
and
girl.
reading my contract and making
Yes.
sure that's good. But I
Yes.
have an accountant that handles the back end of that. But and then I have a partnership, right? So Health Shield credentialing with Andy Stamper, she's a CRNA. And so it can be a lot. So I feel like my advice would be if if I can pull this off, my advice would honestly be to put yourself first and take care of yourself because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of nobody else. I do know that. I don't always follow it, but I'm trying to do better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of noise out there about, people paying and why should we make people pay and everything
Yeah.
should be for free. What is your opinion on nurses, aspiring CRNAs investing in
Mhm.
themselves?
Yeah, I think there are going to be some nurses out there who don't need to pay. Like they don't need to pay for anything. It's going to be some that's able to hear me and you talk, grasp what we're saying, go out and implement and do it, take action, right? But there's going to be a group that really wants to get there faster, quicker. They want the inside scoop, or they struggling to get accepted, right? And so they need the extra help. I personally believe, yeah, you definitely could try it on your own. Like I tried everything on my own, right? But I also took me 6, 7, 8 years to get accepted. So I don't maybe I needed somebody. Like I honestly was doing this by myself, other than the lady telling me, Kiki, go do this, and this. That one time, and I was just trying to retain what she was saying. I wasn't even taking notes. I was like, well, she said go do this, and this. Um, I probably would have got there a lot faster. So this is what I know. Just from my own experience. I have had a business coach, a social media coach, a speaking coach. This is all in the past 5 years. I have a website coach, I've had a sales coach to help me create the Society of Future Nurse Anesthetists, to help me create the Center for Advancement and Learning. I created all this myself after I got a coach, right? So now I know how to build websites. I know how to speak. I know how to write a blog. I know how to create blogs for other people. Like there's so many levels to this thing. And I believe that um the great thing about having a coach, right? You is perfect like you're working on advancing yourself, right? So it's all about professional advancement. It's also about you getting to where you need to be faster. So if I did not have a coach, I'd be still sitting up here trying to figure out how to build a website. I'd still be trying to figure out how to build a community. I've built a community of 7,000 nurses. Like that's not easy to do, right? Like, but I went out and I got the information to do that. I paid $25,000 to learn how to do social media, my own social media. I'm not saying I'm like this, I have a huge social media presence, but I'm saying that I ain't have time to wait to try to figure it out. So those are the times when I would say like it might be more advantageous to get somebody to help you. And if you have a problem with being accountable, like you probably need to get the inside scoop. You need a mentor, you need a guide, a support system. If you don't have a support system, you definitely need somebody. Like this is hard. This trying to get into school is so hard. Trying to stay in school is harder, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I feel like it was harder for me to stay in a program and get through and graduate than getting accepted. Now, in the moment, it felt harder to get in, but now when I look back on it, I'm like, nah, it was definitely hard to get through the whole program. Which is why I was ready to vent in my blog.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you said that because I remember the first time someone had kind of offered like coaching services. And the first time I was kind of like, for
Mhm.
what? You know, like I was kind of like, oh, but I was like, whatever. I'm a supporter. I'm gonna do it, whatever. And just like you, I've had a life coach. I've had a mom coach. I've had two mom
Yes.
coaches. I've had, which again, I appreciate so much because as a new mother, you
Yeah.
just don't know some things, and for someone to
You
really
don't.
help me with the mom guilt and the things, like I feel
Mhm.
like I'm a much more compassionate mother to myself because I got those
Mhm.
building
Mhm.
blocks like when my son was like 3 months old. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I've had business coaches. I've had, marriage. I've had a marriage coach, right? Like
Yeah.
all the kind of things. And again, it's that secret sauce. Because here's the thing, y'all. We're human. You're gonna
Mhm.
come up your fears, right? She was so upset about getting those no's. Like she was,
Mhm.
forget it. I'm done, right? And so
Mhm.
that's the thing is like our fears, imposter syndrome, our hurt, our disappointment, our pain, our trauma, all of that stuff comes up when we go for new things, when we try for
Mhm.
hard things, and when they don't work out as they should. So having a mentor, having a coach, having someone there to help you, work your mind,
Yeah.
understand yourself, your emotions, figure out
Mhm.
strategy, boom. Like you
Yeah.
go. And I think
Mhm.
that's amazing and that's worth any amount of money. I mean, I've paid thousands for coaches over the years and I regret
Yeah, I have
none
to.
of
Yeah.
them. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
regret. They helped me with my marriage. They helped me become a better
Mhm.
partner. They helped me become a better mother. It's almost like
Mhm.
someone helping you with your blind spots that sometimes you don't
Yeah.
know that are there. And again, like, yes, we can move quicker when we clean up and accept our humanity a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and I would even like to add that um I don't know if you ever heard this saying that when you don't pay, you don't pay attention, right? So if we
Mm,
offered everything for free, and I know I'm guilty of this, I can go get the information for free and I may not, they might give me a free course and I'll just glance at the course. I won't even finish the course. But let me have to pay $5,000 for a course, honey. I am
oh,
there. I'm like, oh, where,
I'm in it.
what day is class and all that. So I do believe that
Yeah,
you kind of get what you pay for. Now we do off me and you both. We offer a lot of free stuff.
a
Our
lot.
content is on our social media for free. Like we just dropping tips and inside knowledge all the time, right? So you can
Yeah.
get it for free. But at the same time, I did a mentorship program. My pilot program last year was an 8-week program for free, right? I'm telling you, when people, like I say, when you put free on it, people don't want to show up. They not there. They're not participating. But as soon as I put a price on a mentorship program or something, and then they show up and they do the work. So I just believe that the value it's all about the value. A lot of people don't value a lot of free stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Yeah.
know I don't. Like when I see something free, I'm like, and you just don't do the work. And so I think that's a big part of it. Is what I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have two more questions for you. I could
Yeah,
literally, like, we could talk all day. We got to
I
do
know.
like a
We did
live.
that before.
I was going to say, I know. I think we talked for an hour. I was like, will you just meet with me for like 15 minutes and we can maybe see if a podcast would
I know.
align? and we were like, oh, we were talking jobs. I mean, we could probably do a podcast on 1099.
Hey,
Maybe
we
we'll
can
do a
do our
live.
own podcast.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
we should have our own podcast.
we
We need to
really
talk.
should. We could go. Yeah, we're gonna talk, girl. Guys, stay tuned. Okay, stay tuned. All right. But we definitely, I can see some lives coming up because I know there's a lot of questions that
Hmm.
I could literally talk to you for another hour. But we're gonna do two more questions, and I'm gonna let,
Okay.
and we're gonna have all her links and everything below in the show notes that you
Hmm.
can check out. Um, what is your advice for being a competitive applicant in 2025?
Mm. So my advice for being competitive is you got to show up a little different because right now everybody looks the same on paper. Everybody's going to be ICU nurse. Everybody going to have the CCRN, right? So I think you got to show up a little different. And I think one of the ways to do that is you got to stand out, of course, on your CV and your personal statement. So your personal statement honestly needs to be compelling from the beginning. Like the first sentence, like it need to be like from the jump. And one of the things I would say for that is your personal statement to be compelling is really just maybe use like an anecdote or a short story. Like use an anecdote or a short story and use one of the five senses, right? Something that you see, heard, felt, touch, smell, one of those. So instead of saying like, I shadowed a nurse or shadowed a CRNA, be like, I remember when I walked in and I could hear all the bells and the sounds and like do something like that, like and that gets them whoever reading it, whoever the reader is, it makes them want to continue reading like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? Shoot, this is good. Right? So you want that. So that's my advice for having a competitive application is just you got to stand out. And then for your CV, I think CV, you need to have it's from the very beginning. What you need to have like what is working for you in the beginning. So let's say that you have a great GPA, like your GPA 4.0, but you don't have a lot of experience. Put your education first. But if you got a lot of experience and your education ain't that good, put your job first. So that's what I would say.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And then last question, because I think this is like, again, it just feels heavy on my heart because I know there's a lot of
Uh-huh.
people like kind of struggling and we brought it up earlier. But for those who are in CRNA school now and they're struggling, right? Whether
Yeah.
it's relationships, whether it's parenting, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
just being constantly criticized at clinical, constantly told
Mm.
you shouldn't, maybe this isn't for you. For those who are looking at possible dismissals, like for those who are
Mm.
just like, this is not what I thought it would be. What do you have for them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. I went through all of that, to
Mm.
be honest with you. Not to get into my whole story. I've told it before. They can find it online somewhere, but I would say I dealt with all those things. I was told I wasn't good enough. Um and this is the thing about that. If somebody comes to you and they say you're not good enough and you're already feeling down and you're already burnt out and you're sad and you're down, it's just going to consume you, right? And so it's going to hit different at that time. And that is kind of what happened with me. It's kind of like somebody said that to me. I got very down. I lost complete confidence in what I was doing. I started playing, I guess, mind games. I guess that's how you said it. I just kind of felt like, what am I doing here? So imposter syndrome sets in, right? So then I got down. Then I started going to counseling services, and then I found myself crying on somebody's couch at school every day about things. And at the whole time, then you can't study, you can't think straight, right? Like I know all of those things, right? You can't think straight. You feel like you have nobody. Nobody understands. Nobody even knows what CRNA is. Nobody knows why you're here. I don't know. It's just hard. But what I would say is that, please use me as an example, right? Like, use me as your testimony, as a walk-in testimony that just because that those things happen to you in that moment, that you can't prevail, right? Like, I came out on the other side. I'm a CRNA, right? And I feel like I'm a really good CRNA. Like, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. I just feel like I'm good CRNA, right? Um, I'm gonna give you some advice because this is something that happened to me or with me. Whenever you find yourself in those situations, right? Don't wait till it's too late, and next thing you know, you're dismissed. So when you start seeing things happen, talk to your program director or somebody right away, right? Like just bring it up. Like this right here happened to me. I just want to let you know. The next thing I want you to do, I want you to, whoever's doing whatever they're doing or whoever you have an issue with, send them an email, a nice email, and just say like, can I speak with you about whatever's going on? Just send an email. I just want to speak with you because I don't want you thinking those things about me. Just say that. Now this is the crazy part, and this is a good part. Now you've documented that this person has said some stuff about you, right? That's a documentation, right? I want you to think like a nurse because you are one. I want you to think like a nurse, like, right? And so I want you to think about when you send this email, I want your email to be detailed, right? And so I wanted to say, Miss Jones, hi, how are you doing? I wanted to reach out to you about you saying that I'm a terrible student, and I want you to I want you to say exactly what they said, right? Send it to them. A couple of things are going to happen. They're either going to have to respond or they're going to ignore you. But you got proof that you sent it, right? That's very important. The other thing I want you to do, if you're in school and it's really, really getting bad, you got to go to the dean of students. You got to go to the dean of the school. Listen, you got to fight for your position. Fight, fight. I did not fight. I didn't fight to the end. I didn't fight until somebody told me, who was also in the same situation as me, said, Kiki, we got to fight. And then I was like, oh, we got to fight. Like,
What?
because I don't want to tell the story. Nobody want to say anything, right? But when it comes to whether or not you're going to get dismissed, you got to say something. So my advice would be to start early, to document. And then if it comes down to the appeals process, I'm going to give you another tip, right? If it comes down to the appeals process, let's say you get dismissed. I hope nobody's in that boat where they get dismissed. Let's say you get dismissed. They have to give you a certain amount of time to appeal the decision, right? At that point is when you pull out all your documentation that you've been sending, you've been saving, you've been writing down every time something's been done to you. That's when you pull it out, and that's going to be part of your appeals process. And the other thing, if you were to go to counseling services, your counselor can speak on your behalf too, because you've been going to your counselor. That was between you and that counselor. But you can give them permission to speak about the things that you told them. That's going to be your other proof. So that's all I got on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is super helpful because, like I said, I just
Mhm.
know, yeah, there's just some people going through some
It's
things
a
right
lot.
now, and
It is.
and I don't want anyone to feel like they're alone. Again, my platform, our mental and emotional health is important. You are important, and I will
Mhm.
keep saying that and saying that and saying that. You are not meant to be stuff your feelings down and just suck
Yeah.
it up and you know what I mean? Like you do have
Mhm.
people, whether it's me or her or anybody, know that there are people to support you
For
through all
sure.
of this. And just because it hasn't been easy for you and people have said some mean things to
Mhm.
you, it doesn't mean that you're not good enough.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
with that, I just want to say from hearing from your previous degree to your
Mhm.
job and not really being respected or liked and being the only Black female, African
I
American
know.
female. I mean, like incredible. Like just
Yeah.
looking at like the adversity and the perseverance
Yeah.
and the persistence and also like the like walking as a mother,
Mhm.
walking as a African American woman, like all the
Mhm.
walks that you did that have not been easy, like that have gotten you here, and then you've took a really crappy situation that you were going to just vent
Mhm.
about and you turned it into empowering. Like
Yeah.
I just want to say that I truly think that you are amazing, and I love that you have a platform and a voice and you are willing to
Mhm.
share it and willing to spend your time picking up other people, because I just feel like that's why we're here. If we're not here
Mhm.
helping promote others, and what are we doing? You know what I mean? And again, as nurses,
Yeah.
that's the core of our being. And so I
Mhm.
think, yeah, I'm happy that you're doing what you're doing. I love what I'm
Mhm.
doing. I can tell you do too. And I just really think your
Yeah.
journey, it sounds like everything came in perfect time for you. You hung in there, you learned the lessons. It wasn't easy. It wasn't all fun. But just knowing from the conversation we had, like, I don't want to speak for you, but it seems like you enjoy what you do as a
Mhm.
CRNA, and
Yes.
you're good. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming, was this all worth it for you? Like, was all the things worth it?
Absolutely. It was worth it. I would do it all over, even though, I went through a lot of hardship, but I knew from early on I was supposed to be a CRNA, and I really couldn't think of it doing anything different.
Yeah.
So so yes, it's been a great journey for me. I wish I had enjoyed it more while I was in it, but I'm
Mm,
okay with it. Like,
mm.
because I feel like I wouldn't be doing any of this if I had a great experience. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
would have just finished school and went on to work. You know, so
Yep. Yep.
I
Yeah.
I think it's been good, and I also want to say, like, if anybody's out there who is dealing with, you know, a lot of things in school or facing dismissal, definitely reach out to me before it gets to that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. So I'm going to
Mhm.
link all her links, her information, her blog, everything in the show notes or in
Notes
YouTube,
or
whether you're watching it YouTube or there.
Mhm.
So I hope y'all took notes. I hope y'all feel good and inspired and
Very
hopeful after
yes.
this. And we're both here to help you and to support you and be here. And this is not the end of our collaboration because I'm literally got like
Mhm.
ideas written down. So more from me and Kiki. So stay tuned. And thank you again for your time, for your honesty, your vulnerability. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.